everyone, this is Castle of Castle Does, and I'm going to be bringing you some information about Toxikk. And this is going to cover two things: my general feelings on the balance of the game and the level itself as it currently stands, and something that kind of bothers me when people say this is a straight-up Unreal Tournament clone. So I'm going to be covering those two things right now. So let's get started with the overall way the game is balanced, how it feels, how it actually may perform in a competitive environment, and things of that nature. So right away, it is pretty easy to look at the level and say, wow, this looks almost identical to UT3. I mean, I almost feel a little bit like I've seen a lot of these assets, like the sidewalk. I swear these are models that are really just literally ripped from UT3. And if they're not, then they've been modified slightly, because I swear I've seen these things before. That doesn't really matter. Who cares? But it is true. So the environment itself is fairly detailed. However, it hasn't really detracted too much from my willingness to be able to, not from my willingness to play, but my ability to decipher what's going on in the environments, be able to see the enemy, attack the enemy, know when there's somebody there. I haven't really had too much trouble with that, but it is a bit more noisy than other arena shooters right now. But that might just be because a lot of them are either 10 years old or don't have any graphics anyway. So, with that said, the balance of this level is pretty interesting, as what we have here is a mega armor sitting in a hard to get area. Well, it's not that hard, but it's sitting up there. A jacket armor, or a low or a medium class armor, and the mega health, as well as health vials. Mega health is here. At first I didn't even know that was a mega health until I ran into it. Well, anyway, all three of these items, this is a fairly decent sized map, but all three of these items are actually sitting right next to each other, which entails to me that this is not a map that was really designed with dueling in mind. It's actually, even in terms of balance, I might even say that it's bad for a free-for-all. But having everything being heavily one-sided and on this one side of the level does kind of coincide with Team Deathmatch, which is a mode that's currently supported. But free-for-all, this ends up just making it really tough on people, just getting insta-killed, especially in a map with where the rocket launcher is very accessible. So Team Deathmatch actually may have a certain level of competitiveness already going. Like, they may actually be able to have competitions and stuff like that in Team DM just using this map and the way it's designed currently. There are a lot of weird things going on. There are places that I can get where I'm not really sure if it was actually intended, which further, for example, gotta double jump up. I mean, sure, whatever. And I could shoot through this. I mean, so the level is messy, and that's one of the biggest complaints of Unreal Tournament 3. UT3 had this problem, and here it is again. It's the same shit, but maybe not quite as over the top. You'll have to look at more of the maps to really be able to make a judgment on that. I mean, it's a tough call. However, the game does play very well. But one of the main things I like, not so much that I like, actually I do like this. I do like that it's this way when you think about the way the weapons are set up. Currently, right now, the weapons, there are 2 assault rifles, this assault rifle, I'm just calling them what their archetypes are. They're assault rifles. I mean, these are straight up Halo fucking assault rifles. These are two weapons. This one has a grenade launcher. This one has an alternate, which is basically a railgun. So you have a railgun on an assault rifle, then you have a shotgun, double shotty, pretty much standard fare right there. All the guns in this tend to be more realistic. So if you were to compare this to Unreal Tournament, where the weapons in Unreal Tournament are kind of hard to describe to somebody who's never seen the game, like, what the hell is a flak cannon? I'm just going to say, I know what a shotgun is. With the realistic weapons, okay, to go into that a little bit more, there's also a railgun. On top of the fact that I have a secondary fire on my railgun, I have an actual railgun, which is a sniper rifle. So there's actually two forms of that. So right now I could tell you that the weapons and the flow is going to be a touch more in this direction of Call of Duty and CSGO. I know that's a stretch. Like, CSGO and Call of Duty are kind of like over here, and this is here, and this is Quake or Unreal Tournament. So it's like sitting in the middle. I'm not saying that this game is like those games. I'm saying that it's more in that direction than the weird stuff that you see with Unreal Tournament. So with the realistic weapons, we have the more arena shooter-like weapons that just sort of mix right into this bunch, and they're really good for it. I like these guns, man. This is almost as devastating as the good old Quake 1 rocket launcher just ends up in here. Maybe it's not quite as devastating as that. I'd probably put it somewhere as being a little bit more dangerous than the Quake 3 rocket launcher. Maybe it sits in somewhere in that range, but this is a nasty weapon. And naturally speaking, can you imagine playing CSGO and having like the Quake 3 rocket launcher? You would wreck face with that thing. Well, that's what's gonna happen here. You're gonna wreck face. Everybody else is running around with shotguns and fucking assault rifles and railguns, and you got this thing. It's gonna feel overpowered. So it is in some ways, actually. I mean, running around in Call of Duty with a Quake rocket launcher would be pretty ridiculous, right? Well, so with that said, what we got here is a situation where you're literally watching those two things collide. However, that coincides very well. That's yet another thing that I think coincides with team play. Go figure, the rocket launcher is sitting right a room away with access to mega armor right here. So the rocket launcher is meant by design to be a dominant weapon, which a lot of people are not going to be able to understand. That if you come from arena shooters like Unreal Tournament, all the weapons are fairly equal. Well, some are more equal than others, but they're all capable of totally wrecking someone's face within X amount of time. There's a certain amount of lethality that every weapon is able to reach. This weapon, the rocket launcher, is probably a little bit more lethal than the other weapons by a decent amount. That is something that makes it so that on a team game, people are going to want to lock these areas down. They're going to want to make sure that you have these like hot spots of badassness, and then you have not only that, but it gives me like, I get the mega armor, I have a rocket launcher, and now I'm sitting on top of this thing looking down. So this area, this whole section with the armor and the mega health and the mega armor are like, in a team game, I can almost imagine people just literally hanging out here and like maybe sending out some people over there, and then the team that's losing is just going to be hanging out on the other side trying to figure out ways to get in. It almost seems a little bit too King of Hilly, you know, it's a little bit too much King of the Hill going on, but I kind of see that actually working fairly well for Team DM. Okay, so in terms of just regular balance, aside from the one-sidedness of this level's design, It does seem like the game was intentionally balanced in this way. I don't think it was unintentional that all the big items are sitting on that side of the map, one room away from the rocket launcher. I don't think it was some accidental thing. I think the person who made this level, the person or people who planned it out, kind of knew what they were doing. I'm guessing, but it does make sense. There does seem to be some kind of plan of action here, and it's meant more to support Team DM than it is anything else. So that basically leaves the one last thing I wanted to bring up on Toxikk right now, is I've gone over all the details about the gameplay itself, but there's one thing that really bugs me when I see people talk about Toxikk in terms of it being a clone of Unreal Tournament. Okay, there's two ways you could take that, and one of them is very easy to explain. It's a clone of Unreal Tournament in terms of the fact that it's basically a Unreal Tournament mod. It's a high-class Unreal Tournament mod. I mean, on a technical term, if you're a game developer, you'd look at this and go, that is a fucking enforcer. The secondary fire, it's the same gun. It's the same gun. And you can also look at all the other guns. Like, that's the alternate fire for the flak cannon, definitely. I mean, I know that this is an assault rifle now, but that just kind of seems a little bit like somebody just changed some values and made it an assault rifle, and it was the flak cannon. You know, they literally just slapped a different graphic on the sniper rifle. If you're someone who's into game dev, that might be something that you will criticize the game for, like, right off the bat. Like, fuck, man, why didn't I do this? It almost has a tinge of that. Like, why didn't I think of doing this? Someone beat you to it, pal. It's literally, on the technical level, just somebody grabbed the game and just changed the graphics. However, for everybody else, it's total bullshit. Total bullshit. Absolute fucking garbage to even try to say that this plays anything like Unreal Tournament. Unreal Tournament does not play like this game, and this game does not play like Unreal Tournament. And why do I say that? I mean, you could take every aspect of Unreal Tournament except for its weapons, clone it, and you'll have a completely different game. Unreal Tournament flows around the way its weapons function. When you watch matches in Unreal Tournament, you're watching those weapons. If you take Unreal Tournament's weapons and put them in Quake, you will have Unreal Tournament in Quake. The weapons are literally what make that game flow. Totally different from every other game out there. So one of the things that's going on here, sure, these weapons might be on some technical level, just modded versions of Unreal Tournament weapons, but you're not going to convince me on any kind of a serious level that this is the ASMD shock rifle. It's not. The ASMD shock rifle is a combo weapon. It changes the way people play the game in such a dramatic way that you can't even try to say on even a basic level. That weapon, the ASMD shock rifle, changes how you even try to approach your enemy. If I know the guy has an ASMD shock rifle and he's down there, I'm looking for a ball and a giant explosion. I wouldn't even try to go into this room. If I knew that he was down there, he was waiting for me to come through here, I would be instantly fucking jibbed. And there's nothing you could do about that. That is just how Unreal Tournament flows. This game, whee! He's down there! He's fucked. Totally different games. Totally different. Okay, every single one of the guns in Unreal Tournament can be used just as defensively as they can be offensively. You can prevent somebody from entering an area simply by just spamming the shit out of that area. And when you watch professional tournaments, you watch people actually really playing Unreal Tournament. There's shock rifle balls going everywhere, secondary combos, fucking every once in a while they'll switch over to the Stingray and like try and like get some extra damage in if they could poke somebody with it, and then they'll switch over maybe for the rocket launcher for certain situations. But the shock rifle changes everything. So these games don't even play sort of the same. I mean, you might be able to say it like on a non-competitive sense, like if I don't know what I'm doing, then Unreal Tournament plays just like, yeah, whatever. I don't care about that. Nobody should care about that. But in a serious sense, there's nothing. There's no comparison here in terms of the way these games play. The weapons are totally different, and that's just one thing I wanted to bring that up. And while it may be a clone for everybody who it may be a clone on a technical side in terms of just being a simple mod, there's no way that this is a clone in any other sense. The gameplay, it doesn't feel anything like Unreal Tournament. I feel a lot more safe proceeding into areas. I don't constantly feel like I have to be watching for that ASNB shock rifle combo in my face. It feels a lot more trigger happy. It's a little bit closer to Quake, but with a mix of realistic shooters such as like Call of Duty and CSGO kind of like mixed into the bunch, but then I still have a rocket launcher that feels straight out of Quake. It does actually have its own niche. So say what you will about it, but it's not gameplay wise. Not gameplay wise. So with all that said, there are some basic things that I do want to complain about when it comes to the game. For example, really weird shit. Like, how could you release a modern competitive arena shooter that still has automatic weapon switching? I mean, and like I can't turn that off, and I can't turn off VSync, and I can't like mouse acceleration. Like, really? That's on, and I can't turn it off? I have to go into INI files. They weren't kidding when they said, frag like it's 1999. I gotta go fucking INI files. And on that note, the frag like it's 1999 thing, I get it from a standpoint of, that we're not really in the need of a nostalgia when it comes to arena shooters. It needs a breath of fresh air. It needs something new. I mean, we haven't quite reached the point yet. I mean, nostalgia. We're still playing Quake 3, which was out in 1993 or 1999. 1993 was Doom. 1999 was Quake. Quake 3 was going strong at that time, and it's still like a #1 competitive arena shooter right now. So frag like it's 1999 is kind of weird to say, honestly. It's a really weird thing to say because I can play Quake Live right now, and I can frag like it's 1999 right now. I could have before this game came out. So what am I really fragging like? I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Okay, I'm overthinking it. Alright, I'm overthinking it. Let me have a little bit more options, please, in the options menu, and I'll be pretty happy with it. I want to see some more maps. I think there's a hell of a lot of potential here. I think this is a pretty solid game. I think I like the way the weapons are set up in this versus the way Unreal Tournament's weapons, because Unreal Tournament's weapons are these really spammy. They're very, very different style. They bounce off walls. The flak cannon, like I can just like shoot a wall and it'll bounce into another area, and I might be able to catch someone in the foot with it. And it's like all kinds of weird stuff. I always feel like I'm not directly fighting my opponent. I'm trying to set up the ability to like make him walk into a trap all the time in Unreal Tournament. In this game, I'm fucking shooting you in the face. and that's actually pretty nice. Um, I think all the guns are pretty much like that. Yeah, pretty much all of them. So I have high hopes for this. I think this is actually a pretty good thing. I mean, aside from the things that I just mentioned, uh, this is a pretty damn good start. I know that there's some weird stuff, like every time I stop playing and I come back, I'm like rank 4,000, and then I start playing and get to rank 200, and then the next day it goes back up to 4,000 again. Okay, I'm just rambling at this point. I hope you found this informative, and click like and subscribe, and hope you enjoyed.